right, everyone, welcome back to, we're continuing episode 149 because, quite frankly, it wouldn't be a celebration without Anthony, as he's still somewhere overseas in China or somewhere, I don't know. But in any event, this week, I have a couple of guests here. First one up, long fan of the show, a man who for about 120 or 130 something episodes was started a campaign that was really a pain in my neck, which came to a screeching end back in March.
I didn't start the campaign, I merely continued it.
There he is, and it is Charles, ladies and gentlemen. Charles, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the Retro Gamers.
Thank you very much for having me, Larry. It's only been a year since I've been here. Oh, great. It sounds like the beginning of an AA meeting.
Hi, 247 days since my last episode, and
it's probably 378.
Who's counting?
Not me for once.
Yes, so Charles is the one who I'm crediting for the disaster that was the hashtag VB Sucks. I say disaster for me, but it was praise for everybody else. And
well, I mean, came up and, yelled VB Sucks across the hall at Retro Gaming Expo.
Yep.
And picked up the Virtual Boy and ran with it.
And now it is just shattered in a million pieces, which you can actually catch on our YouTube page for the our first Flashback Friday. I thought you quite enjoyed that, probably.
I laughed.
I still have the broken pieces. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with them. I don't think you're going to be able to put them together. I'm going to try and either Frankenstein it or just put it into some, I don't know, like plexi something or other. I don't know. People make designs out of them, so we'll figure it out. People much smarter than me.
There's no hope for it. Reality. Acceptance is the last stage of grief. You should accept it by now.
Resistance is futile.
Or if you're a Vogon, resistance is useless.
There you go. And every nerd out there is just popping because they're like, oh, yes, they're one of us. Well, he is. I'll catch a Doctor Who episode one day.
It's amazing now how when you and I were growing up, because we grew up at the same time, different ends of Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. Nerds were the ones who were getting beat on and made fun of and everything. And now it's cool to be a nerd. My daughter's, you've met Mary, you've seen her play, you've heard her wisecracks, and you've seen the stuff that she pulls, and we embrace it.
It's like I don't know, maybe like a week or two ago. I was talking to my dad, and he, he sat me down. He's like. He was like, look, I'm really, you've been doing this podcasting for a long time. I'm interested in how it works. So I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. So I sat down with my father. I kind of explained to him, I mean, not just the shows themselves. I mean, they are what they are, but kind of explained his whole podcasting thing. And he thought it was really cool. And when I was telling him about it was before the expo. That's right. Before this year's Retro Expo. And I'm like, yeah, we do it with the Retro Gamers and I got with the wrestling and everything. And he's like, yeah, years ago, being a nerd was such a bad thing. And nowadays, it's like an embracement of the culture. I'm like, basically, nerds have finally, are walking the earth proudly and enjoying our time. And this is where we're at today.
Yes, the pocket protectors have risen up and turned against everything.
Another reason why I like to have Charles on the show, even though I guess in 149 episodes, he's only been on 3 times, as he pointed out, is because Anthony, self-admittedly, wasn't into handheld gaming, but I was. Charles, you definitely are.
Oh, yeah. I still have my original Game Boy, which I have told you before.
Yep.
Mentioned on the show, and I have put pictures of it on the page. I still have my original Game Boy, which I bought from consumers in June of 1992 after graduating elementary school on 86th Street and 24th Avenue in Brooklyn.
There you go.
Still have a Game Boy Advance that I got as a Christmas gift in 2002. Mm-hmm. I have a 3DS. I forget how long I've had that now. And now Mary, my 7-year-old daughter, 7 going on 17 with an attitude of 1, has a 3DS also. And last week, for the first time, she actually beat me in Mario Kart 7.
Oh, there you go. That's it. That hurts. That hurts, but also a proud moment.
It didn't hurt because I whooped her ass every other time. So
fair enough.
Yes, I know you're going to bleep that out.
Well, no, that ass isn't bad. It's some of the other stuff. We'll put that to the test later.
Okay.
So with the Game Boy, and we had the 30th anniversary. We didn't, but the world did. Of the Game Boy, and just real quick, having you on now, what are some of your, like, game-wise, some of your fond memories of the Game Boy, or even, and did you have, let's go one at a time, what was probably one of your favorite, most fondest memories of a Game Boy game?
Probably the first time I beat Metroid 2 on my own, because I just actually replayed it this week, and I beat it in about 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Metroid 2 is definitely one of the underrated ones of the Metroid series. It was the first one that had the save feature to it, and it's the first one that kind of had a map system, but there was no map per se, but you couldn't go through Y until you were done with X.
Gotcha.
So it was revolutionary for that.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid 2 is up there, and actually the only Zelda game that Anthony has never played, Link's Awakening.
Yes.
I am not an RPG person. I freely admit that. I'm like you. I'm more about the shoot 'em ups.
Yep.
But Link's Awakening was just amazing, and the first time I beat that on my own was a nice moment on the Game Boy. I'm actually thinking about downloading that to my 3DS to play it again. But the thing about the Game Boy was that it was revolutionary for its time. I mean, yes, we can talk about the monochrome issues, but the fact was, when you look at the other handhelds before then, especially the Game & Watches, everything was kind of like a stop motion.
Yeah, exactly.
Things. With the Game Boy, it was the first handheld to actually have fluid motion through the games. And the games weren't just Game Boy copies of Nintendo games. They were all each games with different plots. Perfect example, the Mega Man series. Like Mega Man 2, which is the one that I owned, it had some of the robots from 2, some of the robots from 3.
Yes, that's what I liked.
Metroid 2, like I just mentioned, Link's Awakening, even the Mario games, Super Mario World. None of the Mario games, until you probably at the Wario Land, but even then, there's no mention of Bowser. There's no mention of Princess Toadstool, and yes, I will always call her Toadstool. I don't care about the translation.
She's not Peach to you?
What's that?
She's not Peach to you?
I still call her Toadstool. I'm old
Hashtag
school.
my Toadstool.
Just like the R train, the RR. 6 golden coins was different, and then bringing Wario along for Wario Land Super Mario 3, that was just totally, what's the word? Ground. I don't know. Maybe groundbreaking.
Maybe more like iconic, only because Wario. Look at Wario now. I mean, he's such a popular character now. The game series as he's had with, and he started on Game Boy. So
the only issue I have for Game Boy is that there's no love for Luigi, and Luigi's my favorite. So
there's not much love for Luigi, period. But
I know I like Luigi. I mean, he's the one I used in the original Super Mario Brothers 2 all the time.
Well, he's going to get his love this October.
Yeah.
So with the Game Boy, games, some tremendous games, and you mentioned just top tier games. You're right. Yeah. As we talked about before, it's almost like as much as compared to a television, compared to an NES, the graphical, situations that a Game Boy put a creator in as far as not having a lot to work with digitally, had to go back to story, and that's what it was. It was also the story and the amazing gameplay. Now, also Game Boy's notorious for their wacky accoutrements, their attachments, making it look like a RoboCop of some sort. Did you have any odd?
I had a Light Boy for mine.
Okay.
But the bulbs don't work, and basically what it was a light and a magnifying glass that hung off the top of the Game Boy, because one of the biggest issues with Game Boy is if you don't have enough light, you're not going to be able to see anything. And it was really a pain when you're in a car traveling and it's dark outside and you're trying to play by streetlight and pause and you can actually get through the damn game.
Every 7 seconds, you only be able to move a little bit. The magnifying definitely was probably a great add-on for any of the Game Boys. All right, sorry about that. And that's it. I owe everyone a drink. And because I had
I'll take a whiskey.
Nice. Man of my taste. So I call it the little curly Q light that you plug into the Game Boy. Now, today, let me ask you this. So you had a lot of Game Boy. Did you have a Super Nintendo growing up?
Not growing up. I bought one in college.
Okay.
So I didn't get the Super Game Boy off of that.
Gotcha.
I had a GameCube about 13 years ago, which I bought on a whim after having gallbladder surgery. And I got the Game Boy attachment for the bottom.
Player. Okay.
The Game Boy player. And I also, the Advance that I have was the one where you can take the cord and use the Advance as the controller.
That was awesome. I like that idea.
I used to play that on my floor model TV, which I still have, which still works, and that's what the Nintendo's hooked up to.
Did you feel a different, or maybe like a newfound love for Game Boy games when you started playing them on the TV?
It was different. It was nice. It was convenient. I didn't really play it that much, just because life got in the way.
Of course.
The color difference really wasn't that much, but the great thing about the Game Boy Advance was the fact that it was, what's the word? You can play the old Game Boy games on the Advance. It was backwards compatible. That's the term. And you can either stretch the screen out or just use the regular Game Boy screen.
Yeah, that was always weird. I never knew why that was even an option.
But even with the Advance, at least you had the backlight, so you didn't have to worry about any lighting issues in low light situation. Without any issues.
I know these, you always know when Anthony's not here, A, he's not on the show, and B, there's no video of the episode because I'm not good with video editing, but I'm going to show Charles right now. The only reason why I have this SpongeBob Game Boy Advance SP is, I wasn't a big SpongeBob fan, but it was like the first one when they updated the SP for a better backlight.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I got the SpongeBob SP. Because you're right, backlight, as much as the Super Game Boy, in my opinion, for me, definitely changed the outlook of Game Boy games, because now I'm playing them on a bigger TV. I can use my Super Nintendo controller, which is a lot more comfortable. And then, of course, the Super Game Boy games, I took advantage of the Super Game Boy, so now most of them are in color. When the SP came out, besides the clamshell look to it, I thought the Game Boy Advance SP is much further superior, I don't think that's good English, than the regular Game Boy Advance. And then if you remember, the first set of Game Boy Advance SPs did have a backlight, but it was more like a light on the bottom of the screen that shined up. Wasn't necessarily straight.
I still have my regular Advance, and it still works because you can't download Metroid Fusion or Zero Mission from the Virtual Console onto a 3DS. I haven't been able to.
No, that was I kind of lucked out, because when I bought the 3DS, when the 3DS came out, I forgot what it was. I think it was an issue of a price, or they dropped the price too quick.
They gave you the free.
Exactly. Got 10 free NES games and 10 free Game Boy Advance games. And a lot of them are just not available. So I lucked out on that.
Fusion, one of the best one of the Metroid titles. It is such a great game.
I gotta play that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to also, but just the layout, the controls, and everything. As you all can probably tell, in my order is Mario, Metroid, Mega Man, and then Link.
Mega Man, yes, great series. Let me ask you this: is it weird to play an NES series on a handheld, because like the Mega Man Legacy series that was released on 3DS?
Which I do own, 1 through 6, and I still can't beat Mega Man 1 because it's goddamn near impossible.
It's a tough one.
Actually, I don't really notice a difference. You're still using the same control per se, because it's only 2 buttons on the 3D. Well, actually, no, there are 4 buttons, but still, it's not.
It only incorporates 2 of them.
Yeah, you don't incorporate 2 of them. So the gameplay is no big deal. The fact that you're playing it on a little screen really doesn't make that much of a difference for me, because I have eagle eyes. And when you think about it, cost-wise. Trying to get all these for the console, Nintendo, especially trying to find an original Mega Man. Yeah,
it's tough. Even when I go to Game On out here, I don't usually see Mega Man too much. I'll see like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I have 2.
All right, cool.
And 2 are the best one of the series with the killer soundtrack.
Which one?
2.
Oh, 2 is to me.
Remember when I came out to the Gaming Expo 2 years ago, that band was playing the Mega Man 2 theme.
Oh, console up on top.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
They were cool. Then you would have loved Bit Brigade when they played the 3.
Oh yeah, when you put them up on Facebook, I searched for them and I saw that Zelda record, and I'm just thinking, I know someone who needs to get that.
That album again. Go check out Bit Brigade. They're the Zelda album. There's 2 Zelda albums, but don't be fooled. It's not. I mean, they're not trying to trick anyone. It's just the second album. It was just a remastered version of the first one. So
dangerous to let alone. Take this.
Yeah. So let me ask you this part as well. So all right. You weren't that big into the Game Boy player, which I shouldn't say that big into it, just didn't have time for it, which I get. Don't get me wrong. I loved the Super Game Boy. I talked about it. But now we're starting to see a trend of Game Boy games starting to be re-released for modern consoles. It started with the Konami collections with Castlevania and Contra with their Game Boy games.
Yeah, I actually need to get
that. Trust me, would you prefer more, Castlevania or Contra, or both?
A little from column A, a little from column B, and I agree with you on Simon's Quest.
Simon Quest is terrible. So the Konami, so those Konami games, definitely check them out. But they have the Game Boy versions. The Mana series, Collection of Mana, has Final Fantasy Adventure, I want to say, which is the Game Boy game on it.
Yeah, and that. I'm not an RPG person, so
no, but still, just the fact that they're releasing it. And they just announced this week that they're putting out for the modern consoles the Mega Man Zero ZX collection, which were a series of games on Game Boy Advance and DS, which I'm really curious. They showed a little bit of it in the trailer, but I'm really curious how they're going to do the DS aspect on the modern consoles. But
it's going to be interesting because here's my issue. I tend to be a little bit of a traditionalist.
Okay.
Leave it as is. And now I'm going to go in my rant about Return of Samus. Now, Metroid Return of Samus for the 3DS, as you and I both know, is supposed to be a remake of Metroid 2, Return of Samus. I own Samus Returns. I haven't played it in months because the gameplay is horrible. The graphics are too much. And I think they trade too much to, how do I explain it? I'm trying to figure out. To cater to the current generation of younger gamers, where it's more about graphics and shooting up without actually,
story.
Play. They don't, there's no story.
Okay.
So I'm kind of scared to see what Link's Awakening is going to look like.
Well, we know what it's going to look like, but you talk about how it's going to play.
How it's going to play and everything. Because to be honest, I haven't looked at the trailer yet because I'm probably going to get angry and throw my phone or something at it. But I tend to be traditionalist in that leave things the way they are. Like for example, look at the Virtual Console stuff. I like being able to play my Game Boy games. Yes, they're still in black and white or green and green, but that's part of the lore. I still like playing my original Super Mario Brothers. The 8-bit and the original Super Mario 2, and all the Nintendo stuff with the Nintendo graphics, the Super Nintendo stuff with the Super Nintendo graphics, etc., etc. You don't want to add too many extras and bells and whistles, because then you're going to lose some of your core gamers, the ones who have been there since 1985, and they are an important part of Nintendo when you think about it, because we started it, we kept them in business, and now with those of us who have kids, we're the ones carrying on the video game gene to the next generation, and they're into the classics. Mary loves playing original Super Mario. She's big into Kirby right now. She loves playing Kirby and Pokemon on her Game Boy. And she likes trying to play original Legend of Zelda, but, she's only 7 years old, so...
It's a little tough, yeah.
It's a little tough, but, she enjoys the games, and...
Well, talking about, keeping it original, that's what's cool about with the Konami collections, with the Castlevania Game Boy games and the Contra Game Boy games. You can change the graphics to be that green, monochrome, pixelated almost. So it looks like a blown up version of the Game Boy screen, but there's some, there's some love for that. There's some nostalgia factor to that. It's kind of like when I got the minis, I immediately throw the scan lines on and I'm like, oh, this looks like what it's supposed to look like. That's why people like today, when they're like, you get these gamers who are like, well, I got to get this clone system because it's got a 4.7 output that allows for the lag to go down and the scan lines to be gone and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, no, just give me the system. They looked terrible then. They should look terrible now. It doesn't mean the game is bad.
Last week, no, 2 weeks ago, which I also mentioned to you guys, we went to the Morristown Game Vault. Which
yes, very cool.
Yeah, $10 an hour basically, and it's free play. Pinball machine. And I'm playing old asteroids, and Mary's looking at me going, "What is this?" And I explained it to her. And also the original Star Wars, where it's nothing but lines.
Yep.
Yes, the graphics aren't all that great, but the gameplay was unbelievable, especially for Star Wars at its time. You don't want to go too far with any bells and whistles, because those of us, because face it, we are getting old. We like that little bit of nostalgia because
thanks for the reminder.
Well, there's no way.
No, I get it though. I get it.
We like our reminders of our childhoods, and it's something that we like to share with our kids now.
No, I totally agree. So let me ask you this then. Like, do you think with these re-releases now of Game Boy games, now we're starting to see Game Boy Advance games, DS games, there are, if you own a Wii U out there, you can download a Game Boy Advance and DS games onto the Wii U from the Virtual Console for as long as it's going to last. The DS games, I forgot which one I have. I think it's a Kirby game. Those work well on the Wii U because of the gamepad. So you do get that feel of the dual screen. But, do you think this is going to be the new thing? Do you think now we're going to see more and more, even if they move into the Game Boy Advance section, do you think now we're going to see more Game Boy games being re-released for modern consoles in like some sort of collections or something? If
it makes money for Nintendo, yes.
Okay, well, if anything makes money, they're going to do it.
Well, yeah.
And not just Nintendo. These are coming out on PlayStation and they're coming out on Xbox.
I think you're going to see it because look at what happened when they released the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic. People went bonkers for it.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because, the adults loved that childhood part, and, it goes back to sharing means caring, all that stuff. But I think you're going to see a market for it. So you are going to see the games get re-released. My concern, like I said before, is just leave them alone graphically. Don't remake them. Just issue them as is.
But now,
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Does the Konami code work on the Game Boy Contra games?
I don't think they ever worked on the Game Boy Contra game.
Maybe I'll ask Sandy Claus for the Castlevania and series.
No, they definitely were. I mean, besides all the other games that are on there, the Genesis games of those respectively were amazing. But it was just cool when I saw the Game Boy ones. I'm like, this is pretty sweet. And you can black and white, played in green.
I would love to put advanced games on the Virtual Console for the 3DS. I mean, I know the 3DS is going to be going slowly, so I'm eventually going to have to get a Switch. But even if they put it for a Switch, because I know, like I said, eventually I'm going to have to get a Switch.
It's worth it. I'm telling you, the games are fantastic.
Mary keeps asking for one. When she played at Anthony's party last year, ever since then, she's been asking for a Switch.
Well, would you get the Switch or the Switch Lite?
I think the Switch Lite, and maybe that's an episode we can do as we get closer to the holidays. Like me, you, Anthony, and Frank get on and talk about kids and video gaming.
Yeah, that's what Frank loves to do. No, it's a good idea because, Switch Lite, you have young children. Does it matter if it hooks up to the TV and all this stuff?
I really need to hook up to the TV.
So.
Unless hers shouldn't. Mine, well, yeah, I'm the adult, so I should be allowed to get it.
Exactly. That's what I keep saying. I said it last week. You pay the bills, you run the show. That's why, I'd be like, Dad, why are you playing Dr. Mario? He's like, just go back to bed. I'm like, okay.
Sidebar, do you have the Dr. Mario app on your mobile phone?
I do. And I haven't played it that much, though. I gotta play. It's weird because it goes up instead of down.
Yeah,
so
it is, but I actually enjoy it.
Okay. Did you pre-order the Mario Kart one?
Like you even have to ask.
Pre-order. It's free anyway. So.
Yeah.
Very.
I can't wait. It's gonna be interesting to see how that's gonna play out.
That looks cool.
Buttons.
Yeah. Probably just more motion or whatever. Okay. And then finally, I know you probably didn't have them, but with some of the Game Boy games coming out, do you think maybe we can see Game Gear games being re-released or I wouldn't say like a Wonder Swan or something.
Okay. Well, since Nintendo owns Sega now, I don't see why. However you want to explain the relation, I don't see why they wouldn't happen. Because Game Gears did have a couple of good games on them. What I would love to see is something like a Game Boy Classic come out or Game Boy Advance.
It's been rumored. It's a stronger rumor than the N64 Mini. So,
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see how they do that, because would it be the size of a regular Game Boy, and how would they handle the screen? Would it still be green on green?
True. Black and white. You know, the Game Boy Pocket went black and white, and that is a suitable replacement than the green, in my opinion. But let me ask you this. Not only a mini, we'll call it, but there was also a rumor for a while that we were going to get a clone Game Boy, like from Hyperkin. Actually, Hyperkin was the one I think that was promoting it for a while. They haven't heard much about it, so I guess maybe it either went to the wayside or they're getting ready to release it. It was going to be like this aluminum body, rechargeable, the size of a Game Boy Pocket. It would play the Game Boy games, probably in black and white, which again I think is a suitable replacement than green. Would you be, again, forget, like, say the pricing was perfect and like stuff like that. Would you get a clone Game Boy system to play your Game Boy games, knowing that that's like a newer system, it's a stronger system, and it's, I don't know, just something new?
Probably not, because I still have my original. The only difference is I don't take my original out anymore.
Okay,
and
so
I only play it in the house.
So you don't have a lot of wear and tear on yours.
Oh, I do. Come on, the damn thing's, let's see, 19 minus 92. Damn thing's 27 years old, so it's got a couple of scratches and everything. And it's got a brand, and the battery case is not the original, but still, all the battery.
All right,
but
fair.
that thing is still durable. It still works. So
I mean, would you be like hell bent against getting a clone, or like, again, if everything was perfect?
Because I have a retro. What the heck is the handhold? I have that handhold that plays the Nintendo and Super Nintendo cartridges. The retro.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, there's a bunch of different names for them, but I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah, because I have one of those.
All right. Well, very, very interesting.
Yeah, sometimes you're in the mood for the handheld stuff.
That's true. And we're going to leave that with that. So we're going to wrap this segment up. Charles, thank you very much. It was fun talking about the Game Boy and getting your ideas on this wonderful handheld system.
Well, thank you again for having me, and I guess I'll see you in another 50 and a half episodes.
Just about. And we will be right back. All right, so we're back, and so getting ready. We're on the heels of episode 150, and now we have the man that actually reminded us that we're about to hit 150 episodes, official episodes, that is. Captain Nostalgia himself. We always love having him on the show. Josh from Victims and Villains. Josh, how have you been?
I've been awesome and fantastic, and I would never ever let you guys forget a big milestone like 150.
Celebrating every 50 is like basically just another year. That's really what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, just short of that. But and for those new to the retro gamers, definitely go check out Victims and Villains. Josh does an amazing podcast over there, and of course, always with the thought and promotion of suicide prevention. So, Josh, I will as long as I'm on this planet, I'll always promote Victims and Villains, and especially for what you do for getting the word out there and trying to help those who definitely need the help.
Well, I always appreciate it's funny because like I always appreciate the coming on here because like I love your show, but I've in like the last like couple of years like I've really grown to like really love you guys, and like now the fact that like you guys are celebrating like 150 and like that I was being able to be a part of like the 100th episode, and I tried to include you guys for our 200th episode, and like we couldn't like work out it
happens
times, but it's like it's one of those things that like it started off kind of like at this like place, and then like we've just kind of like grown to like have this like mutual respect for one another, but it's also like evolved into this like genuine friendship and community.
Totally. When we've talked about it before, we first just kind of got together. Hey, you got a podcast. We got a podcast. It'd be cool to do a crossover, help each other. Like, all right, it was professional. Like, it was business. But you're right, Josh. You, over the couple years now, it feels like, I think, we've definitely become, I can definitely 100% say, you are definitely one of my friends, and, we exchange Christmas cards and everything like that. Also, and I think I can speak for Anthony as well. He feels the same way. Josh is also responsible for the large credit card debt that I had in 2018. And so far, so good with 2019 until the end of the year, because I don't think I'm picking up an obscure video game system, because Rippo nailed it right out of the box in January when we bought that the JVC. So Josh, I have to thank you for a bunch of things, and so does my American Express.
Yeah, it's funny because I obviously, like, our community past, like, you and Ant has grown to where, like, I now know and, like, talk sometimes with, like, Frank from The Better Half and Anthony from Yin and Yang.
Yep.
This community that you and Anthony have, like, had for, like, years, like, it's been like, oh, hey, like, I've been kind of, like, welcomed into that inclusion. Like,
Absolutely.
with that, like, you also gotten to meet some of our family, and it's funny because, like, we were joking around this morning. For those of you guys, like, pulling the curtain back, I always like to mess with Larry every time I record with him, and I'm like, just when it's just me and him, and I'm like, do I have to wear pants? Can I be naked? And so I screenshot it, that conversation, and I sent it to one of our writers, Brandon, who's been on, who's also worked with the two of us together, and his response was something along the lines of, he's like, oh man, naked podcasts are the best. I'm so jealous of you right now.
Oh, Brandon, and I was going to record an episode of Talking More Wrestling with Brandon. I'm going to have to double check that now. Because I don't trust him. He will definitely go sans pants and everything else. No, it's all good. It's all fun. And that's probably why you're audio only right now. So,
I'm audio only because I'm cleaning my house right now.
Fair enough as well. So I want to mention real quick, talking about pulling the curtain back, Josh, if you don't mind me mentioning, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, I was able. Well, I'm going to go back even further. So we talked one time, you had mentioned to me when I started going to Game On, hey, can you be on the lookout for this particular game? If they have it, let me know. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'll mention that game in a moment. So it was at Game On. It was there. It was pricey, admittedly pricey, worth it, but pricey. And then I was, you're like, I'll hold off for now. I'm like, all right. And then I'll admit, I've had this idea since that time, since the original time you asked me about this game. They just happened to sell at that point. So I waited. I kept telling them, hey, listen, when you get this in, let me know. And then finally, Game On had gotten a copy of Ghost in the Shell for the PlayStation 1, and I sent it off to you. It was a gift I was waiting to give you, but that's not the part I want to talk about. It was the unboxing video that you sent me and Anthony, that honestly, for like that rough work week I had, seeing you with that unboxing video just completely made my day and my week at that point.
Yeah, so it came at like the right time, because I was actually like, so for those of you guys like don't know, like my wife and I, like when we, like, I do Victims and Villains by myself, but my wife and I, we do like a lot of like outreach with our show. It is suicide prevention, and I was actually waiting on these like new resources to be sent for our table for when we do live stuff. And so I walked outside and I was expecting that fully, and I see this tiny little box and it just says Larry Mormon on it. And I'm like, okay.
Is he now working for this company?
I was like, all right. So I get in, and I just got done recording one of our episodes. And so I'm going in, and going into the studio, I have everything set up. I switched out my microphone extensions to be able to plug right into my phone. And I was like, so I started recording. I was like, look, I have no idea what's going on, man. Literally no idea whatsoever. And I open it up, and it's like, it's a small postal box. And so I get in there, and it's this square that's like wrapped up in.
It's like four layers. Yeah, it was a Russian nesting doll, basically.
I can tell you how many layers are, because I still have the mess here.
Wow. You do have to clean your house.
3. Yeah. It's it's 3, and it's a small like priority mailbox. So I opened it up, and I'm like, awesome. What is it? And then I opened it up again, and I was like, okay, same layer. Opened it up. By the time I got down to the second layer, to the final layer, I was like, I knew exactly what it was. I was like, he found a copy finally of Simpsons Wrestling. This is gonna be awesome. And that's what I was expecting. I kind of went in with low expectations, but I got it. And so, I opened up the last layer, and I think before I got to the last layer, I'd opened the note that you had written as well. And I think that spoke a lot more than the video game did, because for a lot of the work that we do, there's other organizations out there that are bigger, that are able to go louder and more, have more resources, more pools, and we're starting to get into that transition. But there are some days, and granted they are very far and few between. It's maybe once a year where I will just kind of be like, is all my efforts worth it? Is all of the stuff that I'm doing right now, all of the content that I'm producing right now, actually making a difference in someone's life? Is someone reaching out to helplines or understanding that there is hope? And to get a message that says, hey, you deserve this, to get that affirmation, man, it brought you guys a lot of joy to see that, but it also brought me a lot of joy to hear those words. And then to get a game that I've been wanting for 2 or 3 years on top of that, I think I said in the video that I'm going to start crying.
Yeah, you did.
And I was close to it, I'm not going to lie.
No, that's nothing wrong with that. I've cried at the Muppet movie. I admit that, and I just saw that recently.
Yeah, but I mean, it is one of those things, and we just talked recently on our show about the power that affirmation has, because you never know when someone needs to hear the words, you're doing a good job, or hey, I like this, or hey, this is really awesome of you, or just speak directly into that person. And that's what that gift did to me, man. As much as I love the video game, and the game, I've gotten a chance to play it a couple of times in the past couple of weeks, and I adore that game. And
it is a fun. I'll admit, before I sent it off, I did play it, and
it's a fun little game, man.
It's great. And Anthony, and when I told Anthony, I'm like, yeah, I picked it up, I'm going to send it to Josh. He's like, hold on to it and wait for the Polymega, because with the Polymega, you can legally copy the games onto the system, so that way it's a quicker boot up. I'm like, I don't know if I can hold this till Christmas. I mean, it'd be awesome to give it to him at Christmas, but I'm like, I have it sitting here. Let me get it off on its way. I don't want to, who knows how long that system's going to be until it releases. But I definitely played it, and it was better than I thought.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of was because it kind of almost felt like they were paving the way for the standalone complex, which is their series, because in the mythos, the mythos is of the early years of Ghost in the Shell. It's this very personal, very major driven story, to where she's obviously searching for identity, and they're also the manga explores a lot more of the organization that she works for, and some of the relationships that she has. And whereas Ghost in the Shell, the standalone complex, which was the anime series, focused a lot more on some of the comedic elements. They introduced the little robots that kind of came in, and that's kind of what I've played of the game so far. It definitely feels more like it stands in that realm than it does actually with the manga, which is cool, because I love everything about it except for that Scarlett Johansson movie. Everything but ScarJo.
Ooh, sorry, ScarJo. Sorry.
I hope she listens.
I hope she listens too. That would be awesome. It was great and I'm happy I was able to do that. And you're right. It wasn't just about the game. Like I said, it's just all the hard work. Sometimes hard work that we do, you're right. We gotta, sometimes it's nice just to hear someone say you're doing a good job or thank you or something like that. And that was definitely our way of saying, thank you for everything that you do. And, just a little piece of us on its way to you.
Yes. I'll hire a, speaking like to bring the Simpsons back in. Do you remember that episode where Homer won a erotic photo shoot and he was going to surprise Marge?
Yeah. And they're like, all right, we got to grease the lens.
She's got like the big jar of like Vaseline just right there. I was like, maybe I'll return the favor, Larry.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on now. I know we sent you a ribbon or a sash or something, but I'm good. And a good thank you. The video actually was all I needed. Yeah, no, The Simpsons, and we can talk about, that's a whole nother episode we can talk about down the road. Probably when Disney Plus comes out, The Simpsons games, the multitude of games that were both rough, fun, and just absolutely amazing. So I think make a mental note of that one. I think we'll do a Simpsons crossover down the road.
Sold.
I like it. And especially since one of us, who are not on the podcast right now, worked there for a while, he may have some insights as well that he's probably not allowed and signed a contract to not talk about.
Yeah, so Anthony, if you're hearing this right now, hopefully you are, because I know you're in a country where you don't have a whole lot of access to.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on my Bart Simpson little figurine that I was promised.
Ooh, oh boy. And as Anthony then immediately goes to Amazon to find that figurine.
No. So it was we were getting recorded. I think it was one of our Castlevania episodes. And he was just kind of going through like his desk drawer to find
I think I remember that.
Pair of headphones, and you were trying to figure out something on your end, and he was just kind of going through, and he was like, and I got this from my time at Fox, and this from my time at Fox, and I was like, he just kind of like looked at me, he was like, you want this Bart Simpson? And I was like, indeed I do. I have I'll have to send it to you. In my office, I have like an old school, like early 90s, like Bart Simpson when he had the blue shirt. I have Homer, Marge, and I think the only one I'm missing is Maggie. But like, I love The Simpsons, so...
Simpsons is iconic, at least maybe up until about season 15 in my book, but that's neither here nor there. It's funny, too, actually, with The Simpsons. It's like when my cousin started dating her husband, it's always like that weird kind of like, all right, let's see if he's going to be part of the family down the road. We'll see. And I mentioned something, he mentioned something, and somewhere in it, there was a Simpsons reference that neither one of us meant to mention or meant to say. And then from that point on, I was like, all right, you two can get married now. All good to go. So eventually they did. But every now and again, we'll just send each other Simpson quips. And it's all we talk about at lunch as well with my friends at work. We just sit there and talk about The Simpsons. So, but
I love to randomly quote The Simpsons because they have some great quotes out there.
All right, cool. So that will be an episode down the road. But speaking of Disney Plus, I guess the only bit of news that we're going to be dropping on this episode is that Disney it's official now. At first it was rumors, and then we're talking about at the GameStop convention. I'm like, well, until I still see something official, I'm not believing it. But now it's official. You even mentioned it to us. Disney is re-releasing The Lion King and Aladdin on current gen consoles. I think, what are your thoughts on that real quick? I think that's like a good idea. It's something that people have been missing out for a long time.
I do. And you like Disney kind of went through this like resurgence in the 90s where it wasn't just the movies that they were doing where they were getting like hitting a lot of like A's and like a lot of like stuff out of the park. It was also those games where, you had was the DuckTales game that came out for the NES in like the late 80s. You had Aladdin, which is an incredibly fun game.
One of the best.
You have what was the other one that they did? Lion King that came out around that same time. And they just kind of like had this like shift in like this like modern revitalization of their company on multiple platforms. And I think this year with them actually releasing not only with them not only releasing with not only releasing Aladdin and Lion King live action, it only kind of seems full circle to also re-release their parts. And that's one thing that the Switch has like done really well, is kind of taken these, not only these old school games, but has also kind of given these iconic games a new home that, you know, maybe were formerly to Sega Genesis or to you know, the N64 or whatever. These like old school like 80s 90s systems.
No, totally. And you know, and it's going to be not only available on the Switch. As far as I know, it's going to be on PlayStation 4. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Xbox One. And I think with Disney Plus getting ready to come out, with them basically getting ready to shut down Netflix because it is a Disney Plus thing, I think Disney sees the resurgence of the retro video games. We have a lot of compilations coming out, like the Mana series is the collection of Mana that has 3 games on it. Konami did their 50th anniversary with Castlevania, Contra, and arcade shoot-'em-ups. And of course, it goes without saying, all the minis. But with two, I mean, and the games, the icon, you know, we talked a couple weeks ago, me and Anthony, about how, you know, when we talked about the Genesis 30th anniversary, definitely there was some games that were released on both Genesis and Super Nintendo, but as much as we are heavier with Nintendo, we still try and talk about everything. But these 2 games, Aladdin and Lion King, were definitely better on Genesis than they were on Super Nintendo. And as far as I know, and I don't have the details in front of me, so forgive me and don't quote me on this, but I believe what's going to be released in this collection is going to be the Genesis versions, the Super Nintendo versions, which were a little different, and I think maybe some of the handheld versions. Whether it's Game Boy or Game Gear, I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to be getting a bunch of different games in this collection. And yeah, I think it's like you said, Josh, with the live action movies coming out, or came out at this point, I think it's, well, right. Disney did this before with the Saturday morning collection. They released, what was this? DuckTales 2, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, which is a fantastic game on the NES. I used to play that ad nauseum when I was little. Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers 2, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. So, you know, Disney has done this before, and they're doing it again, and I think it's going to be a home run. Have you had a chance to play these games originally? Maybe not originally, but on their original platforms?
Well, I own the original version of Aladdin on the Genesis. About that. Mm-hmm. And I found it because I remember the day that I got it, and I got it like in box, like beautiful condition, and I think I paid like $7 for it. And I was like, yes, like I finally have it, and so I really enjoyed it. From what I've played of it so far, it is a hard AF game.
Yep.
But it's kind of like it makes for those interesting challenges. And it's funny, I was talking to a buddy of mine and like a couple months ago, and I'm sitting there on the phone with him playing Aladdin, and we're having this like really deep, like intellectual, like vulnerable conversation. Mm-hmm. And like every other word out of my mouth is like, come on, jump already, do your job.
Been there, done that.
And every other word would be like, oh, sorry, I'm playing Aladdin. Like he just doesn't want to be a good boy and jump over the lamp. So there's this app that's like similar to Snapchat, but it allows you to have like long-winded conversations, and it's called Marco Polo. And
that's an awesome name.
It's an awesome app, and like that's how we communicate most of the time, is because it's just cool. And a lot of this past weekend, I've been doing so much conventions and film festivals that every time that we've been talking back and forth, it's been when I'm driving back home late at night. And it's funny because like I'm normally in the car with my wife, and so every time that she is like, every time that obviously you being from New York, you understand that you yell things at other drivers.
Oh, absolutely.
And I
Frank
was
is notorious for it.
well, the first time that I ever did it, I was like, I don't know. I kind of like caught myself, and I was like, I don't know if you get like grumpy and like try to yell at other drivers as therapy, but I just did that. So that's a thing that I do.
Awesome. Welcome to New York and basically the East Coast. So with the Disney game, so we get these two releases. Of course, The Lion King has one of the games. Wow, let me try that again. The Lion King has one of the most depressing levels in a video game. I know of only one other game on the DS that has a maybe more depressing level, but of course it's the level in The Lion King, the Stampede level, which is of course iconic in the movie, and probably even more. I can't even imagine what it looked like in the live action movie.
Oh man, it was like really gorgeous in the live action movie, but it ultimately ended up like sucking.
Oh really? They didn't. I guess. Well, because also back like in the early 90s during the Disney movie, like you got away with like just killing a character on camera or slightly off camera, like in Tarzan, when the guy hangs himself at the end of the movie. Well,
yeah, don't get me wrong. They definitely do stuff like that. They definitely kill Mufasa because it's a pivotal point for the story. But the thing about it is that it doesn't work because of how realistic the animation is. And the video, like, you miss out on that emotion. And I think one of the reasons that thing is so iconic and so impactful, that movie, is because of how Simba or Scar or Mufasa, like the reactions of the characters are so emotionally driven, and you just don't have that in that
with a real looking animal. Yeah, I get it. And just on a side note, the other most depressing level ever is a game called Elite Beat Agents on the DS. It's a rhythm game. And what they did was actually a very fun game. It basically, they didn't have the original songs, but they had real songs done by other artists, and you just kind of click the screen as you go along with the beats and everything. All right, cool. Like one of them was Jumpin' Jack Flash. They did a Rolling Stones song as well. So it was a really cool game. But then you get to this level where it's like Christmas. It's the song, you're the reason of my life. You're my inspiration. See, Anthony's not here, so I can get away with singing it. You're my inspiration. So they have that song. And on the top screen of the DS is like this animation. And if you screw up the hits, like the animation goes wrong, but if you keep them going, it plays out. But as you're watching it, it's, long story short, it's a young girl, her father going away on business, and then when you get to the end of the song, you find out that he died in an airplane crash, and like he's coming back to revisit her during Christmas. It is the most... You can find it on YouTube. Just watch the clip on YouTube. It is the most depressingest level of a game I've ever played. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God.
Just like start like the waterworks.
Really? I'm like, oh, it's screwing up my screen, the salt from my tears. So anyway, is there a Disney game that you would love to see re-released, like on a modern console? I mean, I know it's all about having like the original and having that, the original cartridge and the original systems, but also a lot of these collections allow people to own multiple versions of the game that they'll never probably going to see anyway. So something that you might be interested in seeing re-released?
So it wouldn't be a re-release, but it would be like a new, like,
okay,
8-bit interpretation of a series that A, is criminally overlooked by a lot of people, and B, I think would just make for a really great, like, maybe if it was done like modern day, it would be kind of like Arkham Asylum games, but Gargoyles would be awesome for that. And you could do like a gothic noir, just something like crazy, like, because like that was an awesome series. And if you could have Keith David come back to like voice do voices for it, yes.
That's the that's not the cartoon, but those gargoyles in New York City are the inspiration why the New York XFL team has probably one of the worst names that you can give to a sports team, as the New York Guardians.
Ugh.
Meanwhile, St. Louis has the greatest name for any sports team, because they are the Battlehawks. That's a name to live by.
That is an awesome name right there.
I'm going to be a total St. Louis fan there next year's XFL season. All right, so Disney thinks it's going to be doing a good thing. Hopefully, again, don't put much into the rumors until you see that first gameplay trailer or the release trailer, at least in my opinion. If we get the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the handheld versions of Aladdin and Lion King, but I'm looking forward to it because I never owned them. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting them all in one-stop shopping. So, and with that, I think we'll start to close this one up. Josh, again, thank you very much for being on this short episode as we are heading towards 150. We're screaming at it right now as we speak.
No problem.
And we're going to close it up here. Anthony will be back. Yes, I did everything I can to stretch out episode 149 so we can get Anthony back for the big 150th episode. And we will catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.